The scene on this street was wild. People were gathered in crowds. Some groups looked terrified, while other groups looked ready to maim and kill one single man. The Night Stalker had finally come out of his nighttime hiding. The police couldn't catch up to him. He ran through the streets like the wind. Everyone looked with fearful eyes, afraid that if they grabbed him, they would end up dead, until an entire mob caught him. They surrounded this man, and suddenly, he didn't seem so invincible. In fact, he whimpered pathetically and looked like he regretted the last 14 months of his serial killing and assaulting. Not that the mob cared. They grabbed their poles and fists and got to work. The man was nearly pummeled into the ground. Eventually, the police caught up with him, and he begged them to arrest him. This Night Stalker was, of course, Richard Ramirez, who killed more than 13 people in a manner more horrific than anyone could have imagined. As word of the Night Stalker began to spread, it was obvious that not a single person was safe. By the end of his spree, public anxiety was in high amounts. In fact, some industries were really thriving. Gun sales, lock installations, window bars, coffins. The police really tried to investigate and increase their presence on the street by more than tenfold. FBI formed a special task force until eventually the killer would be hunted down like an animal. Soon enough, a lead came forth. A witness appeared and was able to provide the police with a license plate number for a vehicle believed to belong to Ramirez. In secrecy, the vehicle was tracked. If the Night Stalker was alerted, he might dispose of evidence before the police could discover him. On the vehicle, the police found partial fingerprints that were run through the database. A match was found immediately, but in those days only a name was found, but not a face. So the police knew that the prints belonged to Ramirez, but they couldn't prove much of anything. Until other tips came flooding in and everyone gave the same name, Ramirez. There was one problem. It was a very, very common name in California. It wasn't guaranteed that they would find anything useful with that name. Regardless, they ran the fingerprint again through a computerized database and people named Ramirez. Through sheer luck, they were able to find the picture of the right man. The records on file were of anyone who had been fingerprinted after January of 1960, and Richard Ramirez had been born on February in 1960. Soon, one of Ramirez's victims who survived was able to get a detailed enough description that a sketch artist could provide the newspaper with a picture. The Night Stalker image was printed all over California on every newspaper's first page. It was evident that the Night Stalker and his reign of terror was very close to an end, and a brutal one. But perhaps the only reason Ramirez didn't manage to escape this fate is because he didn't see his own picture in the newspaper and unknowingly walked into a store the next day. Some old ladies pointed him out, and he fled the street, trying to escape the police. He actually came very close to being beaten to death by a very angry mob who were sick of staying home because of the Night Stalker. After his arrest, the most expensive trial to the state of California has ever seen took place. Ramirez was convicted of every single charge against him: 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 assault cases, and 14 burglaries. He was sentenced to death for these charges, and also because he was a complete lunatic during the trial. His death penalty read death by asphyxiation in a gas chamber, and was held in the San Quentin prison. He was on death row waiting for his execution. Due to how enormous his case was, the appeal court was having difficulty reviewing the 50,000 pages in his case. It would take a lot of time before his case was reviewed, and so this effectively delayed his execution by a lot. Surprisingly, during his stay in prison, this man found a female admirer who had been sending him messages from behind bars. In 1996, he married her. Doreen Ramirez, the new bride, had a lot to say about the Night Stalker. "He is kind, he is funny, he is charming," she said. The funny and charming we could believe, but kind? "I think he's really a great person. He is my best friend. He is my buddy." This was her take on him. Pretty crazy, if you ask us. An entire state had lived in terror of being murdered because of one man. The families of the victims came forth to news channels. This is what the son of one of the victims said about Ramirez: "It is just evil. It is just pure evil." During his first round of appeals in 2006, the appeal court upheld the death sentence, but Ramirez kept submitting more and more requests for appeal, which would delay his execution for more than 7 years. At that time, he was also diagnosed with a vicious cancer, B-cell lymphoma. The state of California looked on to see who would win in killing Ramirez, the court or the cancer. Cancer would win in the end in killing Richard Ramirez. He died in the prison infirmary in 2013 at the age of 53 after spending as much as 23 years on death row. Not once in those 23 years did he say that he had done something wrong or that he wished he were free. When the judge read out that he would soon be dead through asphyxiation in a gas chamber, Ramirez did a very sane thing. He smiled. The judge who had sentenced him got to hear a peculiar statement by the Night Stalker. "Hey, big deal. Death always comes with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland." Do you think he was crazy? Or just acted as one? Please comment below.